Hello, everyone. My name is Damian Crawford. This is episode 9 of Indie2Indie, and we are continuing the series covering the developers in the Shorter Games with Worse Graphics bundle. And today I am joined by...
Hello everyone, my name is Daniel Dante. I'm a game developer from Brazil, and I'm very glad to be here.
You're actually the second person we have in Brazil, so that's pretty neat.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
good to know.
it's been interesting seeing how global this is because, I put it up and I don't give really many thoughts about it. Like, oh, okay, people will apply to get into the bundle and that'll be cool and I'll approve whoever. Um, we have two in Brazil, we have one in Germany that I know of, there's at least one in Russia, one in Canada, like, it's not just like the United States, which is where so
I
many...
didn't know that. In
Yeah,
my mind, I was the only Brazilian, the only, in the rest of all American.
right, yeah, and that's how it skews, and that's what I expected. But we don't have that, which I'm really happy for. Um,
Me too.
yeah, it skews a bit more male than I would have liked, but we at least have some diversity, right? Um, but okay, so let's actually get into some starting questions. Exactly how long have you been making games? Well, give or take
Well,
how long.
eh, I don't have an exact answer.
Yeah.
I know that I was making games since I was a child. Uh, but trying to make money with games, uh, a little different. I think it was like 2015.
Mm-hmm.
But I was using Game Maker 8.0 uh, when I was a child. RPG Maker 2000, things like that.
Mm-hmm. So, how did you get into making games? What was it that made you go, oh yeah, games, this is fun to do. I want to keep doing this.
I guess the first thing that I knew it was possible to make games was RPG Maker 2000,
Mm-hmm.
and I I remember I think I have a friend of mine that have the original CD, but I didn't have it. So I my first experience with a pirated version of RPG Maker 2000,
Mm-hmm.
and and then I was like, after I experienced RPG Maker, I was like, what else the internet can provide?
Mm-hmm.
Fire Maker, beating up Maker. And then I learned, the other stuff there. Give me Maker, BOR for beating ups. I don't know if you know it. Open BOR is for making beating ups.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of niche programs
Of
specific
course.
for things in what's like that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Um, yeah, because I mean, I still make games in RPG Maker, so yeah, no, but it's also gotten more versatile since
Oh
2000.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now it uses Java instead of Ruby. So it's a lot easier to code. Um,
Yeah,
so why do you make games?
I it's just a medium that I like to use because you can do everything in it.
Hmm.
Sound, music, art, and scripting, uh, the visual and the storytelling. You can do whatever you want basically.
Hmm.
So I think it's a good medium with many channels to explore.
Hmm. Is this something that you consider a job or more of a hobby?
I want to consider it a job, but right now how much I gain,
Hmm.
uh, I can only consider a part-time job. But I wanna go full time. Let's say like that.
Hmm. Um, So let's actually talk about your game that's in the bundle, SkateRPG.
Hmm.
How many people made the game? Were there anybody else involved in sound? Do you have any testers?
Uh, Making the game, the engineering, writing the level design, characters, um, programming. It's
Mm-hmm.
like taking a script from a free script site, putting
Yeah.
on my game. It, it was me, but the art department, like uh, mainly the tile sets, the houses, floors, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually recycled from previous canceled game that I did for a friend of mine,
Mm-hmm.
Felipe Brizolara, and he's a great pixel artist, and I and he gave me the permission to use a couple tile sets from on our previous canceled game.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of recycled from that. And also, friends of mine that see me making the game, I kind of pushed them through making a character for the game. Like every friend of mine, at least make at least one character. My
Mm-hmm.
girlfriend Nanda, she makes like 5 characters for the game. So uh, and Felipe, my friend, gave me the tile sets. Also make a character for the game. So making the game, like putting the stuff, was me, but my friends kind of each make a character, and the music was me. The sound was literally me skating and recording on my cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, ah, and I actually have Apoias. Apoias is like a Patreon, but for Brazilians.
Mm-hmm.
So I I also receive help from friends of mine and people that like the project. They want to contribute a little bit of money.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's not much, but no, it helped. Absolutely, it helped. And yeah, I think so. And I'm making right now a Gringo edition, an English version of the Skate RPG. And so my friend V is helping making the translation,
Mm-hmm.
and he also did a character for my game. So I have many friends that help me along the way,
Mm-hmm.
and but take everything that they gave me and put it in the game, basically.
Mm-hmm. It's cool. Um, yeah, because that's something that a lot of people don't seem to understand about game development, and especially when it comes to indie developers, is the fact that no one goes it alone. Even if
Um,
it's more like with yours, where people are literally putting their characters into the game. Um,
yeah,
there's a lot of financial support, a lot of emotional support, you know, being able to have people that you can rely on in any sort of way is just very helpful to actually get through making games. Um, yeah.
there's this fairy tale basically that uh, this dude, he made the game all by himself, like uh, until like right now people still believe that Toby Fox made Undertale
Right.
all by himself. No, like there's so many people behind Undertale. It was a big massive project
Hmm.
for that indie. And but I think it's like easy to sell, easy to market, to say like, this game was made by one person,
Right.
but it's never really the case. Even in Skate RPG, they're like, technically, I was the only one that opened RPG making and put stuff
Hmm.
there, but it's not really.
Right.
There's a lot of things that are not my take for my friends, help it, people that like it, you want to help suggestions,
Mm-hmm.
even like, just talking to you. You can, oh, I guess I could change that in the game. You know,
Mm-hmm.
this person already is involved in some way. So yeah, I think it is one person making a game is not really. I still have to see a case where it is actually true. You know.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, even with AAA games, you see so many people like, oh, Metal Gear Solid. I mean, that's Hideo Kojima.
Yeah,
People
putting a name on
associate it to one person, and they might have been, a core team member who it wouldn't have happened without, but
it.
that
Yeah.
doesn't mean it was just them. But so many people attribute it to just one person so often. Um, and it is this sort of myth that um, it would be good if more people dispelled it more often and were
Yeah.
transparent about things and said, "Hey, this is the real situation." There's a couple people I've seen where if they get a game attributed to them, like somebody's like, "Oh yeah, this game's doing so well by this person," they will reply to the tweet with the ats of everybody else that worked on the team, which is usually like 10 other people that they didn't talk about because it's just this one person, but it's not.
Yeah.
So it's good that more people are letting others know about it.
Yeah.
Um,
This is great.
but yeah, it's important that people understand just how it really takes a village to make a game, whether
Yeah.
it's literally other people working on it or just, the financial support patron system. Um, so, what engine did you use for this game?
I use the RPG Maker VX Ace,
Mm-hmm.
and because the combo system that I use on SkateRPG,
Mm-hmm.
that is the same one that Lisa uses
Mm-hmm.
on the fighting mechanics.
Yeah.
Uh, they had a script made on this engine by Yanfly.
Yep. The combo
It's
system.
very easy to, yes, exactly. So that's really the only reason why I use VX6.
Mm-hmm.
I bought RPG Maker MV,
Mm-hmm.
but I saw a video that was like, oh, how to convert to plugin MV your script. Oh, oh man, I bought the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So I waited a promotion for VX6, and then I bought it. Okay, that's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I recognize that sort of system and code and whatnot. It's interesting once you work in RPG Maker and you see other people make games and you go, oh, I saw that from this, and oh, I
Yeah,
know that asset is used. I was playing Hylix, which is a game made in RPG Maker, where he did claymation and converted it to pixel art. So it has a very unique art style. But then I see status effects and I'm like, that's RPG Maker. Like, because the
yeah,
icons are still like, blind and paralyzed. It's still the same ones that they have in the engine. So I'm like, okay, I see. Um, so that's funny. But yeah, there's a lot of really useful code and assets and everything for RPG Maker. So it makes it very easy it
yeah.
makes it easier to get into making a game and really putting in that work to make something like this. Um, so why did you make Skate RPG? What was it that made you go, you know what, I would like to see more of? An RPG about skating where you use a combo system for tricks.
Uh, uh, I was in 2019. I was doing a kind of a big project
Mm-hmm.
with many devs, but things are not going great. I was feeling actually very bad, very down. So in that time, I was feeling a lot of anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
and I just needed a break from working. And whatever uh, when you work on your home and you work on your PC and your free time is also on your PC,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of awful. Let's just say
Yes.
it's not good. So whenever I was doing something else that was not working, I was feeling guilty. I should be working.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever I was working, I was like, oh my god, this is the fucking worst. I feel like shit. But one thing I could do to like turn off my mind, and it was watching skating videos on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I only skate when I was a kid, so like for some reason, skating videos on YouTube was like I could do this for hours and not thinking nothing. So I watched so many videos to avoid working. It was like when I'm done with this big project, I will for sure buy a skateboard and start relearning skate again. I don't care. I use the money for the big project. I will buy my skate. I will do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually did. We finally we shipped the game, the big project, and I was like, okay, now it's wait for receiving some money, and then I will buy a skate. And I did, and I bought it, and I started learning. I learned ollie. I was so happy.
Mm-hmm.
We jump on the skate. I started learning tricks. So I don't know. I guess when I do something that is not my work, I also try to bring to my work. So it's like, how can I make a skating game? I was like, I think I'll make a skate game about learning tricks, not about the tricks in itself, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of thinking, I think I'll do a RPG about learning tricks and making friends. Gonna be very happy and chill, just walking around and making friends. But at the same time, Brazil is a very shitty place, politically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
It could have a fascist genocide motherfucker on the power right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't do the chill mood skate RPG that I have in my mind because I just not was feeling very chill. I was not in that mood. So I kind of converted something more like what I was feeling at the time, or fuck this government.
Mm-hmm.
So so right now skate RPG is like about making friends, learning skate tricks, and killing rich people, and saying fuck what's happening right now here. Uh, so what I even forget what I was expecting. Ah, why did I make this game? Uh, it just was natural feeling for me. You know, I was feeling down. I started skating. It was great. Then the pandemic hits, so I had to skate only on my home. Like this little space that I have here that's not very big.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of vent. I letting all my feelings uh, of my life right now on the game.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see my friends. I want to learn skate tricks, and I also want to kill rich people and put fight on the government. You know? So yeah, that's why I did it. It was very natural in a
Mm-hmm.
very unnatural way.
So why did you go for this aesthetic? Why does the game look the way it does, feel the way it does, you know?
Well, in skate RPG, the tile sets, like I said, is like recycling art from old
Mm-hmm.
console games. But my pixel art from friends that are also in the game. I use also clay. And only one NPC is made of clay for no reason, just because I wanted to.
Right.
And photograph in one enemy. Uh, it wasn't really on purpose. I just having ideas and put it on the game, and my friends too. But I knew that I wanted to give an urban and poor feeling for the game. And that's why my friend Felipe Besolada, he's an amazing pixel artist, and he sent me like a very beautiful uh, urban tile set floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I take this beautiful floor and I made it like broken and weird on the game. Why? Because the floor in Brazil, it's kind of fucked up. The government is like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
not very good. So when I was skating in the short time there was not a pandemic in 2020, uh, I like my face made the floor many times because of I was skating. Then there's a very big hole in between the cement,
Mm-hmm.
so I couldn't do a pretty floor in a game that is about skating Brazil. It's
Mm-hmm.
gotta be a fucked up floor, you know. And my friend Felipe, he kind of asked me many times, please put in the right way that I did it. Put in the miracle. I'm sorry, I can't. It's gotta be fucked up. It's gotta be broken and weird. It's gotta be fucked up. I'm sorry. But he get it now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So my philosophy was kind of following this philosophy of weird and fucked up and broken. It's kind of follow the rest of the game too.
Mm-hmm.
The characters uh, they all like uh, poor people living in a poor place, and they are seeking titles of this government and being ignored by the government, being mistreated. And- but they are also very peaceful, rich people.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of cat- cathartic to making like fuck rich people. Let's burn some houses and graffiti their houses.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that was the aesthetic. It's like fuck rich people. That was the aesthetic.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good. It's not something that we see a lot of games commit to. Um, like
Yeah.
like there was a it might have been Cyberpunk 2077 or it might just be on my mind, but it was like a Cyberpunk game where like somebody says all cops are bastards, and then like the player response that it allows is, well, come on, not all of them, and I'm like, okay, that's not very cyberpunk. Like
Exactly.
that's
It is cyberpunk. It is 2077. Oh my god, they did
yeah,
it.
like you don't we don't need qualifiers, especially over here in the US we have a big police brutality problem.
Yeah,
It's
no.
yeah, it's made the news, and we've had protests, and I come from a family who complains about how there's so many protests, while I'm
Oh my
sitting here looking at them like I was homeless for 4 years. Every one of you can go fuck yourselves. So the holidays have been fun for me. We're doing this 3 days after Christmas, and oh, it's I'm
My
going,
father,
yeah.
he also, I know how you feeling because my father, I talk about the facial government. My father supports, he votes for this government,
Mm-hmm.
and we see all the shit that they did, and my father still supports.
Mm-hmm.
So can you imagine how like for me
Yeah.
Christmas?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
I know exactly how you
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm glad that at the very least in the indie scene, there's more of this sort of thing where people are um, there's still some people that will say things like, oh, like whatever you believe. But in the indie scene, there's definitely a stronger sentiment of if you don't support poor people, if you don't support trans people, if you don't support,
Yeah.
you know, these sorts of things, I don't want your money, go fuck yourself. And I think that's, it's good that, you know, things might be bad, but we at least have standards. Like, there's,
Yeah.
you know, that sort of thing. And so it's good to see that with the games that people make. But yeah, I could go on about that for a while. I have very strong feelings when it comes to, you know, cops and security guards and, you know, wealth and all of that.
Yeah, I put a cab and 1312 in my game,
Mhm,
SkateRPG, in many places. On the graffiti shirts, they say, but because like, you know, cops are bastards.
mhm,
I'm not gonna lose any money with it, you know.
mhm.
I know like a AAA game, I don't need to worry. Oh, I need to please everybody to
Yeah.
make money. Like I'm already poor. Fuck it. Fuck
Mhm.
rich people. It's not gonna make me rich.
Right, right. Um, yeah, and that's actually I'm gonna stick on this a little bit. That's a big thing. That's a big issue that we have. At least I know here in the U.S., where we have a bunch of people who are, um, how do I want to say this? Uh, displaced billionaires. You know, you have poor people who think if I support these people, one day I'll be rich too, and this will all pay off. When in reality, the fuck are you gonna do that's gonna make that much money? That's actually gonna work? That, you know, there's there's all that money that rises to the top, and like, why support that when here and
Uh,
now you're suffering? Like, when you're at that point, you won't care. You will have more money than you know what to do with. Like, make sure that you can, everybody can stand up before you start trying to, like, climb the ladder that hard.
the people that have the kind of money, they have the kind of money exploring people. So
Hmm.
when I see someone saying that, like, so you want to explore poor people just like you right now.
Right.
That's what you want. You want to make so much money, explore, and you can even comprehend how much are you exploring.
Hmm.
You know, because like these fucking billionaires, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, they know they are exploring, but
Hmm.
it's so much money they can even comprehend how much they are exploring. You know, it's
Hmm.
like, and I see poor people, they know they are being explored because they are being directly explored.
Yes.
So there are people they like being directly explored. Amazon workers they still think like, ah, no, I want to be a multimillionaire, a billionaire.
Right.
It's like this amount of money. It's like it's a disease you shouldn't have.
Yeah. There's no ethical way to get that kind of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I'm going to try desperately to get back on topic because, like, yeah, no, I do enjoy this sort of conversation, but also I don't. If we continue down this road, I'm going to start like getting heated about it and thinking about stuff, and it's like, no, this will become like 2 hours of just us talking about fuck the police, fuck the government, that sort of thing. Um, which, yeah, fuck the police and fuck the government. Um,
Exactly.
how long did it take to make this game? You know, about how many hours, how many weeks,
No,
whatever.
I had the idea of the game in 2019 when I was working
When
on the big project.
2019?
Yeah,
Okay.
but only the idea. I only started actually working on a game. I think it was in May or June of this year. Actually, put things on the engine and stuff,
Hmm.
or even writing like the dialogue and things like that. So yeah, I think it was May or June of this year, I believe. I'm not
Okay.
too sure about it.
So not a year, but like several months.
Yeah.
Hmm. Um, did you learn anything from making this game? Whether it was about engine, game development, yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Uh, I never used RPG Maker VXS before, so basically everything new on this
Hmm.
new VXS I learned. Uh, I never used plugins before in RPG Maker.
Hmm.
I only used it when I was a child RPG Maker, so it was like only the things that I could see and click and
Right.
somehow works. My pixel art I think improved a little bit, so I used clay for the first time.
Hmm.
Uh, so I have no idea how to use it. I uh, made the model on my hands and take the picture. I, everything that when I
Nice. Yeah.
so yeah, I learned a couple things.
Hmm.
Uh, the music was very heavily sampled. I did similar things before, but not so heavily. Uh, there are some songs on SkateRPG. They are basically only samples. A
Hmm.
sample for the bass, sample for the drums, sample for the vocals, everything. Like no MIDI, no instruments. Everything I rip off of someone's song. So yeah, uh, I learn new things and I improve on some things that I did in the past.
Hmm. Cool. Um, would you say that you're happy with the game? Do you feel like it was worth the time and everything that it took to make it?
Yes, I'm very happy with my game. Uh, I understand the things that are not so good and things that need patches and corrections,
Hmm.
but I am happy with my game. I sometimes see a piece of my game that's like this is very a child makes the first RPG game. Some the city is not like a a professional made
Right.
very beautiful city. But I am very happy with my game. I think it's my favorite game
Hmm.
that I did uh, because there is so much of me in the game.
Hmm.
Every little character is a little bit of me, and I like the writing. I think it's funny. I love it when I see people playing my game and then they feel the need to print screen and put on Twitter like, oh my god, look at this character saying.
Hmm.
I it's like make my day when I see someone laughing of someone that a character might say something. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it.
Hmm. Yeah, I've gotten. There was my first commercial game, which was an RPG Maker game that didn't look pretty, and it got onto Steam through Steam Greenlight. And wow, were there people telling me my game did not look pretty. Um, yeah, there's a lot of people that will make you very aware of
Mm-hmm.
things like where your art doesn't shine. Um, but also, a lot of people don't seem to understand, a lot of gamers, especially, that don't understand that might be the point. Or
Yeah,
that that's not the point. They look at the surface level graphics and it's like, oh, I don't like this. It's like, okay, but you're missing out on the rest of this. Um, you're not understanding that there's so much more to this than just ooh, pretty game, you know.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's
And,
definitely.
and,
Hmm?
and sometimes it's also like uh, fuck fuck it, pretty games. Let's
Yeah,
make an ugly game.
right, right. it's something I appreciate, especially, one of the reasons that I was glad to do this bundle was the fact that, it's important for people to not just look at a game and based on its graphics alone be like, oh yeah, it's good, or it's bad.
Yeah.
Um, this, shorter games with worse graphics bundle is about, it's not the most pleasing to the eye bunch of games, although some of them are very pretty.
Yeah.
Um,
I saw a game that was like, this is too pretty to be this button.
yeah, there were a few games like that where I looked at them and I was like,
All
okay,
right.
it's a
Can
it's good, it's short, my games, most of them don't qualify. Well, because I put 3 games in, and I put them in at the start because I wanted to make sure there were at least entries. Like, that was the big reason. But also at
Mhm.
least, like, okay, the bundle already has at least some value. Um, but 2 of the 3 games I put in are not short, not at all. But they're not pretty. They're kind of a nightmare to look at if you really look at them for too long. Um, so yeah, there's definitely some games in the bundle that don't fit in one way or another, but it's still a good collection. There really is something
Yeah.
for everybody, especially if you don't care about how pretty things are. Um, but yeah, I think we could stand to have more ugly games, and I think people would
For
be
sure.
better off if they were willing to play ugly games. Um, so let's talk about some general stuff, not just SkateRPG, but just your game development in general. How would you describe the games that you make? Is there a real theme to them, or is it just more like, oh, this is cool, I want to make a game about this. Oh, this is nice.
I guess it's a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
I can make games based on things that I love and things that I hate.
Mm-hmm.
And in the case of RPG, both things at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But I also can think period on a gameplay point of view, like, oh, if you make a game that was like that, you did that. And I can think of that, but so to describe my games, I think we like a simple gameplay with a bigger meaning behind it. My first game, Super Plataforma Gun, I started thinking this game like, oh, I'm gonna make a game that a little character and has a gun but doesn't kill anyone, only shoot platforms and create
Mm-hmm.
platforms. And then you can make your platforms and you use it to pass levels. So this was the initial idea for the game that I did with my friend Felipe that I already said about it. Uh, we so yeah, we gave us the idea, but like I started to put a lot of things behind it. I started to hide things. Uh, it didn't actually tell a story like, oh, this game is about this. I started, I kind of tell the story of Super Plataforma
Mm-hmm.
only with Easter eggs, basically. You can you can find something that gives us a hint of what's going on. Uh, what is this world the character is living? What is happening? I started putting like family problems on the game and governmental problems again on the game. So yeah, but the game itself, you can download Super Gun and play, and just see like, oh, it's just this little girl with a gun that shoots platforms. There is a cloud that you can jump. There is a cube, and the cloud moves and the cube is stationary.
Mm-hmm.
But so skate RPG, uh, I think it's more in your face about what's going on because every character is like basically fuck the police.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm making another game with Felipe, my friend again, and V, my other friend.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Nami. It's a game about uh, how can I explain this? It's a kind of a Junji Ito inspired, Lovecraft inspired, but also inspired by the 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 how is the word? The Brazilian coast,
Mm-hmm.
and in specific the the Nordeste. I don't know how it is Nordeste
Right.
in English.
That's
Is a
okay.
specific part of Brazil that is the poorest part,
Mm-hmm.
where I live in. And so it's very famous for beaches and tourists and things like that. But so for tourists it's great, but for people that live in here, it's not so great.
Mm-hmm.
We have the beaches, but we are also the most poor, most poor people in Brazil that is already a poor country.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of making a game that it is a horror game, but it takes place in this specific place. So if a American plays Nami, he can really like, he can love the game. Like he's gonna play the game. Oh, it's a top-down horror game, like based on Junji Ito and the racist piece of shit of Lovecraft.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but for Brazilians who play the game, they will see a little more stuff. They're like, oh, we got this thing. This is a Brazilian reference right there.
Mm-hmm.
This is a specific thing that only in this part of country exists. So yeah, so I think it is simple games, but with a deeper meaning behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I think this would be a good way to describe my games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. Um, it is nice to see um, more regional stuff. It's nice to see settings that are not United States or medieval Europe.
Yeah,
You know.
because I had to learn everything from United States. I
Mm-hmm.
know your culture, from movies, from games. I know it's your culture.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably specific things that I don't know that don't show in movies and
Right.
games and things like that. But in general, I know your culture.
Mm-hmm.
But you, the majority of Americans or Europeans, they only know like, oh, Brazil is like carnival, soccer,
Right.
only the surface thing. But like, there's so much deep shit in Brazil. There's like, I can show. There's like cangaceiros, for example. They were like hobby youths, but like they actually exist.
Mm-hmm.
They are super cool with leather outfits. They use stole from rich people and give it to poor people.
Mm-hmm.
The government fucking hated it. They were like the original fuck the police,
Mm-hmm.
but like from the 1900s.
Right.
And and there is games about that, but it's games only for Brazilian.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I can make games that are like for everybody and everybody can enjoy, but with the roots of Brazilian stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Skate RPG is very like fuck the Brazilian government,
Mm-hmm.
but I make the English version and I make it to be more like fuck the government, fuck the police, fuck rich people in general.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there's still a lot of Brazilian stuff in Skate RPG, but like everybody can get it.
Yeah.
Uh, I just as American can sell the culture, I can show my too.
Mm-hmm.
I can show a piece of what is happening here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, yeah, because in here in the U.S., I can't speak for the entire U.S., But when I went to school, we had 1 year that was dedicated to world history, and that was more, I had a fantastic teacher, but it was more geared towards, you know, Mesopotamia, ancient Rome, that sort of, ancient history that is European centric. We still did
Yeah.
cover Africa a little bit, we still covered Asia. Um, we covered a lot, but it was still, you know, all roads lead back to us. Um, then we had, a whole year of US history and government that was focused on US and economics focused on US, and then as I get older and I'm learning about other stuff from other people, I'm getting more of a global understanding of how much, imperialism has affected everybody. Um, and what it's like in other places. And then as the government here continues to escalate violence, it's something to there's a lot to be learned from other parts of the world where they've had to deal with government problems because over here we've tolerated a lot for so long, where other people would have talked about revolution, we have continued to just kind of sit around, and now we're just getting to the protests phase, and we'll see how that goes. But no, there's a lot to be learned from the world, and even not just in politics, but even like a lot of what I've learned was from cooking shows. You have people traveling around, like they talk about the culture while they're talking about what they're eating, and then you learn like about all these cultural dishes, but also what it means and why it came about, and the sorts of things and celebrations that people have. And I think that's important too, because we get hung up on how far away all these places are, and especially US media, it's just hardly even present other places. Like the biggest thing about Brazil is you might see it in a widescreen shot where you see the giant statue of Jesus, and
Yeah.
then you'll have people that are in a jungle-like place for 3 minutes, and then they're on a plane back to, Rome for the next part of the heist or whatever. Like, that's it. That's our limited
Yeah.
amount of education that we get in other places, is just what media decides to put in. And that's unfortunate, and it's good to have games like this, because it at least helps give more people contact and context about
Yeah.
the world at large, really. Um, to get back on topic, um, do you have a favorite game that you've made? Is it SkateRPG, if you had to pick one?
I think it is SkateRPG. Uh, but I love all my games, even the
Mm-hmm.
bad games. I love them all. But a favorite, I think SkateRPG just because it's more personal.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I made I didn't even know if I was going to make an English version, but I think it would be important to not important, but I want to show more people my game.
Right,
And
right.
in terms of fact, the English is more accessible to the world. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
So making an
uh,
English version will let more people experience and play the game.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
making an English version uh, will hopefully make more people like say, yeah, you know what, you're right. Fuck rich people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I think it's SkateRPG.
Mm-hmm. Um, so let's say you had all the time you could ever need, all the money you could ever need, whoever you wanted to work on a thing, that you could hit them up for help and they'd say, yes, I'm on it. Infinite whatever to make a game. what game would you make?
So I received this question previously on email,
Mm-hmm.
but I still don't know an answer for sure
Mm-hmm.
because when I think on my games, I'm already thinking in things that I can do, or if I can do, my friends can do with me.
Mm-hmm.
I always think like in my zero budget, and so it's kind of hard thinking like, oh, if you have infinite money, why would you do it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think that I wouldn't do a game. I think I will make something like itch.io, but friendly to Brazilians, or
Mm-hmm.
even or even buy itch.io and make it friendly to Brazilians
Right.
because I sell my games on itch.io. But for example, I can buy my own games because most people here in Brazil there is there is an easy way to buy things with bullet. There's basically a paper that you print, and or you just take the code from the paper and you go pay on your cell phone on the bank.
Mm-hmm.
This is the easy way. You can also use credit card and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
The easy way is bullet, and itch.io doesn't have it. Steam, for example, has. So
Right.
it's kind of hard to make sell things in Brazil with itch.io.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a credit card here in Brazil, it may not be enough. You actually need to have an international credit card to buy things in dollar to convert to real. So uh, I like the idea of it. I think it's great. It's very free. You can sell
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want there, but it's not friendly to Brazilians.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would make also a system similar to it, like very free, very sell whatever you want, but Brazilians can use it more
Right.
or just modify it. But as a game, I don't know what I do because I already think in my games with my limitations,
Mm-hmm.
not only my technical but my budget. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm not too sure about games. I
Mm-hmm.
know that I wanna a itch.io that works great with games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something that you know, different places are affected differently. There's somebody I know who's in China, and they can do stuff sometimes, but there's certain sites they can access and certain ones they can't. They have, the Chinese Great Firewall, which is incredibly restrictive on what they can do with the internet. And so, the indie scene over there is very different. And, um, like Steam is generally still okay, but there was even, we still have, there's a horror game that, like, off in a side area that you, like, have to look for. It's not, like, a core part of the game, but it's like an Easter egg. Um, and
See, making fun of the president.
yeah,
Okay.
and yeah, it's this whole thing. Storefronts don't let it go up, and so it's just this awful thing. But games should be allowed to be critical, just like anything else.
Yeah.
Any other form of media. You know, um, but that's unfortunate, and it would be good to see more storefronts accepting of that. But also just I know that there's different age laws and whatnot. Because here we have like the ESRB, like the rating system. And I remember on Steam, if you're trying to put something that's available in Brazil, there's this whole other checklist that you have to go
Yeah.
through of restrictions like, is there violence? Is it cartoony violence? Is there blood and gore? But it's a very detailed list, and you do not want to get anything on it wrong. There was a time I actually had to go back for my most recent game and check a thing because I was like, oh yeah, I do actually have a swear word in this, because of what I named one of the food items. Because it was like a giant burger, so I just called it the Big Fucko. So I thought like, oh yeah, that's a good name for a burger, I think. And then I'm like, right, that's actually something that I need to remember to put into the questionnaire because that might get me into trouble, and I don't want any trouble right now. Like, that's the worst thing on Steam is like I don't want to get taken down over a technicality. But you know, there's a lot of stuff that I think storefronts can do better, and I'm hopeful in the future that more people, particularly indies from across the world, are able to get onto these storefronts and get more exposure and, you know, be able to make a living off of something like this. What would you say that you like about making games?
I think it's the big space for creativity and experimentation.
Mm-hmm.
And just I think the amount of things that I have to do sometimes a little scary
Yes.
when you're doing uh, when you make using the engine all by yourself, but you know, so you need to take care of sounds, songs,
Mm-hmm.
scripting, programming, art. But it's fun, you know, to someone like me that doesn't really have any specific talent,
Mm-hmm.
just does a little bit of everything.
Right.
It's fun to experiment, to create in various
Mm-hmm.
different mediums.
Yeah. No, it's nice to have that sort of variety in front of you. There was someone I talked to, I forget which interview it was now, um, and they said how one of their favorite things is the fact that there's always something to do. You know,
Yeah.
like if you know I've been working on art for a little while, I'm getting tired of it. Okay, well there's still writing to do. Oh, there's still music files I need to import. Oh, I need to check the sound effects on the animations. You know, there's always some way to change up what you're working on, at least until the end. You know, when you've only got like two things left and it's you have to get these done. Um, but yeah,
This is the worst part. I'm
yeah,
just like,
I
oh,
was
I
about
have to do this right now.
right. So the next question is, what do you not enjoy about making games?
I think it's programming.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I suck at it. I hate it. I
Mm-hmm.
don't like it. I'm doing it, and Nami is made on Game Maker Studio 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I am the programmer, unfortunately. So I have to do this, but I hate it. I hate math. I hate physics. I hate numbers. I uh, so I made a podcast with my friend,
Mm-hmm.
and the name of the podcast is Gambiarra. Gambiarra. I don't know if it has a translation in English,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like when you it's like when you want to put two things together and it requires a screw or something like that. But you use like tape and you glue and gum. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you're doing a gambiarra.
I see.
It's
That
when
would
you
be like the closest English thing, I guess, would be jury rig. It's when you're setting something up, you're making it's like hasty repairs. You know, you're not doing it right. You're just making it work right now.
so that is my program.
Mm-hmm.
I mean literally 100% of it is like that. Uh, I, I I am actually surprised when I release games like sobre a plataforma Megan and Nami. They use actual coding. Because SkateRPG, I use people's coding from scripts
Mm-hmm.
and the stuff from the RPG Maker.
Yeah.
But sobre a plataforma Megan and Nami is like my coding, it's my words, I'm actually surprised that everything's running,
Mm-hmm.
everything works because the way that I do is like, oh, there is the right way that a YouTube tutorial can teach me, like
Mm-hmm.
20-part YouTube tutorial, and there is my way that is like, oh, I don't want to watch this YouTube tutorial. Fuck this shit. Fuck it, programming. I'm gonna do like that. And whenever I explain my friends how I did something in my game, they're always laughing. They're like, oh my god, I can't believe you did this.
Right.
I remember um, my first game that I tried to do on Game Maker Studio 2,
Mm-hmm.
and they have this whole section of like visual novel
Yes.
before the shooting segment, let's say. So I didn't know how to make the, the text on visual novel
Mm-hmm.
or the images, or like this one's talking, this one's talking. So I did everything in images,
Mm-hmm.
and I just like play images in sequence. I'm basically making a giant comic book, and I put it in a game.
Right.
So if I can do something in the way that is cheap, and some programmers may find it disgusting, I will probably do it because it's easy for me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, programming absolutely sucks, and I hate it, but I'm still doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, that's a thing in because as I've done a lot of RPG Maker work, I've had to learn to read and edit code. I'm not good at writing it from scratch. I can't, there's something about it that doesn't click. But if I'm reading it, I can look at the words, I can look at the numbers, and I can figure out, okay, this is what the problem is, and now I just need to figure out how I fix this. Um, but eventing in RPG Maker is a lot like coding, especially if you're trying to do tricky stuff with events in
Yeah,
RPG Maker, because then you get into variables. Then you get into comparing variables against each other, both calculated from like a character's stats or, whatever other random numbers that you're using. Um, I remember there was a game that I worked on and I posted my event page that I was doing with it, and one of my friends who's a coder, full time, said, "Please learn to code. Please stop doing like this is painful to look at. Coding would literally be easier. Please stop." Um, which I thought was a funny reaction, but it was also you know, if you use RPG Maker and you're not doing a lot of coding, that experience with eventing can often lead to understanding code a bit better. And it is also
yeah.
still a lot of logical work, so you don't sell yourself short on that sort of thing.
No, yeah. I I guess I know how to code on GML. That is the language for game maker
Hmm.
from scratch, but in a very bad way, like I
Right.
say. But I actually think that know how to code actually helped me on RPG making
Hmm.
and events and stuff like that
Yeah.
because I already knew how to do variables and stuff like that, common events.
Hmm.
I know there's some people that start with RPG making, they kind of have a tough time to using variables, common events, switches,
Hmm.
and it was not really a problem for me.
Right.
Uh, but I'm not very good with numbers, so I when I do something with variables,
Hmm.
probably the first time is wrong, but it's just a question of this place is one, it actually has to be zero, but
Hmm.
but I actually think that uh, there is a lot in RPG Maker that is very similar to coding. It's basically visual coding,
Hmm.
the event system.
Yeah.
And I did college for games, and I know how to code in C# and things like that. That's it. I knew it at the time. probably don't really know don't really know much more, but 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 it definitely helps. And, but it's also the thing that I hate the most.
Hmm. Um, so is there something in games you feel everyone is going to have to do at some point? Whether it's, VR or voice acting or multiplayer? Is there something you think everyone will have to do?
I don't really think there is something that everyone have to incorporate. Uh, I think the freedom of choice is so good in my opinion. I'm not really a fan of things that there's kind of a gatekeeping. Only rich people have access to it, basically.
Hmm.
Like VR, still like most people doesn't play games on VR because it's expensive,
Hmm.
And I like the freedom of doing in every kind of way. I don't think there is something that we all have to incorporate. Maybe in the terms of accessibility, to
Yes,
more
accessibility.
people be able to play it,
Hmm.
then I think that would be good. Uh, when a game has like a ton of options of accessibility, I think this is the best way to approach something.
Hmm.
And if there is something that we all have to incorporate, it's probably that,
Hmm.
but not really a technology, just
Hmm.
a way to everyone be able to play.
Right. Um, is there something that you think indie games and studios can do better than AAA games and studios?
Yeah, for sure. Most AAA games they are like very generic, and they lack a personal touch. Uh, we already talked about it basically, but an indie game it can be way more brave and deal with personal things
Hmm.
or tough things or uh, you know um, a story that is heavy or is about something that movies or AAA games or books don't really say about it.
Hmm.
So yeah, indie games we can have this personal or strong emotional feeling that AAA games they really can because they have to sell that number of copies into that week. They have
Hmm.
not only a deadline, but they also have a number that they have to set. So they do the entire game this big messaging, thinking how I'm not gonna hurt Nazi's feelings. You know, I can I can make a game that is too strong about fuck this kind of people or like or love this kind of people. I need to be very mid of the road, very generic to both people kind of be tricky to play.
Right.
So most AAA games, you don't really have to think or or think what you're doing or whatever your action is actually doing. It's only about like uh, making you play and making other be sad, so you're not gonna see anything on Twitter or whatever.
Hmm.
Not gonna play the sequel that is already in production.
Yeah.
So indie games, we can be like, no, we already talk about it. We can be like, oh fuck that, you know.
Hmm.
Uh, this is my message. If you don't like it, don't buy it. In AAA games, they are basically they need to be cowards because they need to sell to the most people. They need to sell to everyone.
Hmm.
So they cannot be selling nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, and even if they do something like, um, something so small as main character is female,
Yeah.
it causes, this whole thing among the a certain crowd of people. Um, and then it's almost like that's just a part of their marketing strategy. Like they're not doing it because they think it's important. They're doing it because they want people to talk about it, and that's going to sell more copies. There's
Yeah.
always that. It's never for morality, it's for money.
Yes. In a capitalist system,
Hmm.
big companies is always gonna be for money.
Right.
Uh, and this when there is uh, the date of LGBTQ plus parades and things like that. So and Coca-Cola and Doritos and Colgate and all these big companies like, oh yeah, uh, the pride flag and everything. They don't care about it, please. They
Hmm.
only do this because this is the time to be like that, to mark the most buzz. But if you, uh, in the case of AAA games, most time they need to be the most generic way possible.
Yeah.
So the because the day of the pride and the day of the racial month is like 1 month or 1 day or 1 week.
Hmm.
So it's not the entire year. The entire year you can do this. So yeah, uh, there is this disgusting money philosophy, pleasing everyone. That basically hurts everybody, in my opinion.
Hmm.
It, they only trying to go with the flow, with the zeitgeist, they leave it to more money.
Hmm.
So
Um, so for my last games-related question, do you have any advice for people who want to get into making games? As much of help advice can be, you know.
I made uh, I graduate in, in digital games,
Hmm.
and also postgraduate in development of digital games. And I can say for sure, like, don't do that. Don't do college for games. I learned nothing. I learned absolutely nothing.
Hmm.
It's just I just spend my money basically. So if you really want to learn how to make games, just start making.
Hmm.
Just make your shitty game. Your first game is gonna be shitty, but make it proud and release it. Don't be ashamed of it. Put it on your page and start your next game. It's gonna be a little better, or maybe gonna be even shittier, and that's good for you, and that's great.
Hmm.
Just do it. You don't be afraid of comments. When I release my games, before SkateRPG, I was very anxiety heavy for the comments. Bad comments, bad graphics.
Hmm.
It really like makes my day very, very, very shitty when I read something like that. I'm not over it 100% though. I still feel like that, but I'm starting to feel like more and more like, no, I'm gonna do my thing.
Hmm.
Shitty comments, there's always gonna be on the internet, so just do your thing. People, they're gonna like it, they're gonna like it. So yeah, my advice is just start make your vision, making the thing you want. That's it. That's
Hmm.
not really anything deep about it. Just do it.
Hmm. Yeah. It's very hard to understand what it takes to make a game until you've made one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely have to agree with that sentiment. Um, so I have an ending survey. This is so people can get to know the person behind the developer. Um, what would you say is your favorite virtue?
Oh boy, these questions. Okay.
However you want, whatever you consider a virtue. However you want to take that.
I actually googled virtue. Like,
Everybody
okay,
does.
what are my options here? But I think it's creativity. I think I'm a very creative person. I'm always doodling something or noting some idea that I had. So yeah, I
Mhm.
think it's creativity.
What would you say is the core aspect of your personality?
I think it's my patience. Um, I was not patient at all.
Hmm.
My father is not patient. I kind of take this from him, but with the time, I kind of learned to be more zen. Be more.
Hmm.
So I'm actually kind of proud of how patient I can be right.
What are your favorite qualities in a person?
Honest, I think. Uh, yeah, even with my friends, I wanted to be like 100% honest with me. Even though sometimes it hurts, a little bit.
Hmm.
They saying too honest, but I prefer that way because I know what are they thinking in plain sight. It's very pure when they are straight. So I think it's honest.
Hmm. What do you appreciate the most in your friends?
I think it's the fact that I know that I can count on them for everything. You
Hmm.
know, if I have a big fight with my family, if I have to move out, I know that I have a place to sleep, even a sofa.
Hmm.
You know, I think that the fact that I can count on them, I know that they are there for me. I think there's like everything that you need for a friend.
Hmm.
You know?
What would you say is your main fault or flaw?
I don't really know, but I know a big flaw of mine. I love gossip. You know, gossip in general, just like two old ladies talking about the neighbors. I love that shit.
Hmm.
In the game dev community in Brazil, oh my god, there's so many fights in, you know, big mini groups fighting with each other. And we call here in Brazil treta. It's like a scarfuffle, some
Oh yeah, yeah.
a mess.
Hmm.
And I love to hear all about it. So I love gossip.
Hmm. Um, what's your favorite way to spend time?
I could trace things because I don't really know. Uh, on the PC, watching YouTube videos, or skating. I still skate a lot in my house, or playing games with friends,
Hmm.
or just doing nothing. Sometimes just lay in bed and do nothing. Not even sleep, literally do nothing.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Hmm. No, it's like letting your brain defrag, where
Yeah,
it just kind of gets to put everything where it needs to and just reset a bit.
yeah.
Like, there's some times where I'll turn on, the TV and turn it to some,
Just
like,
some white noise.
yeah, yeah, just something in the background, and I'll just sit down and I'll rest my eyes and I will just not look at a computer, not have to worry. Like, the phone is on silent, it's set next to me. Just nothing. There's nothing going on, nothing needs my attention, and nothing's going to need my attention, and I can just sit there and chill for like 15 minutes or hours or whatever. Like, I nap pretty often, where I'm just like, oh, I needed that. Okay, now I'm ready to do whatever bullshit else I have to do today. Um,
Unfortunately, I don't nap. My girlfriend naps a lot, but I can't nap. When I nap and I wake up, I feel like garbage.
yeah.
I feel like dizzy, literally dizzy. I'm the worst human being ever, and I just
Hmm.
woke up. But I can't nap, unfortunately. I wish I could,
Hmm.
but I'm a great fan of laying down in bed and doing nothing.
Oh yeah, yeah. What is your idea of happiness?
I think it's security, like walking down the streets and not being afraid of being robbed and mugged.
Hmm.
Just I will leave the streets and everything's gonna be okay. I go to my home and everything's gonna be okay.
Hmm.
Security. I think I think I
Hmm.
think
What is your idea of misery?
Brazil, absolutely. Brazil right now is like misery.
Hmm.
I can be described. I wake up very angry. I go to shower angry. I eat angry and I go to sleep very angry.
Hmm.
Fucking Brazil. Yeah, this is my little misery right now.
Hmm. Um, if not yourself, who would you like to be?
Someone that can do kick flips very easily. I can't do kick flips. It's very hard.
Hmm.
I saw people way younger than me doing very easily on Instagram and YouTube. Like, oh my god, I'm trying for so long. It's so hard. I can do like one feet, like, or the other feet, but never the two feet.
Hmm.
Yeah, I want to be someone that can do kick flips, and that's it.
Where would you like to live?
I'm always thinking about that, to be honest. And I don't have an answer, but I know that someone safe, somewhere safe, you
Hmm.
know, somewhere where I can realize my idea of happiness, the security.
Hmm.
That would be great.
Um, do you have a favorite color?
I really love black, and many people say, "Ah, black is not a color," but it is a color. You know, my
Hmm.
shirt, and I love.
Yeah, I'm wearing a, well, it's actually like a dark gray, but yeah, like most of my 2/3 of my shirts are black, you know, with bands and stuff on them.
My
Like,
mine too.
mhm.
uh, when I was a kid, this was a very common question, but my answer was never satisfying to no one. They all say, "Oh, it's not a color black." No, it is a color. It
Yeah.
is. Every color is an illusion, and black is another illusion, and black is a color, and I love it.
Hmm. What's your favorite flower?
I think a lot about this question, and my favorite flower is mimosa. It's a Brazilian flower that when you touch it, she likes she like goes to sleep. She's like that, and you touch her, and she likes it's like a flower, and there there's a lot of um, there's a lot of embarrassing.
Hmm.
It's, she has this mechanism system that she closes, and when I was a kid and I saw mimosas on the streets, I like touched every single one of them to make sure that every flower was like this.
Hmm.
Sad. I just think it's magical. Mimosa is the best.
That's really cool. I'm actually not familiar with that flower, so that's nice. Um,
Mimosa, mimosa.
Mimosa,
You
yeah,
can.
I see.
There's YouTube videos of people putting
Hmm.
mimosas to sleep. It's fucking. It's the best.
Yeah, no, there's several interactive flowers, I guess you could say. You know, like snapdragons, how you can pull one of their petals down and it'll just pop right back up. And
I
there's,
didn't know about it,
yeah,
but that sounds amazing too.
yeah, no, there's some neat ones. But yeah, what is your favorite animal?
I think it's dog. I like dogs.
Hmm.
I only had one dog. My family had one dog,
Hmm.
but when he passed away, we were so sad that he passed away. We were like, okay, this is the final dog. This is
Right.
the first and the last dog. I I I still thinking having more dogs, but now with my family, move
Hmm.
out. But yeah, that dog is very special to me.
Hmm. Um, any favorite authors?
I wrote some of books and also comics.
Mm,
Art Spiegelman, the Jim Mouse, I think it's great.
hmm.
Junji Ito,
Yeah.
it's great. Yoshihiro Togashi,
Hmm.
that he made Hunter x Hunter and Yu Yu Hakusho.
Hmm.
I love Yu Yu Hakusho. I have all the the manga since I was a child.
Hmm.
Naoki
Genkai's my
Urasawa.
favorite character in that.
Oh, Genkai is great. And there is something special about the Brazilian Yu Yu Hakusho.
Hmm.
The I talk that I live in the Nordeste, that is the poorest region of Brazil.
Hmm.
So for some reason, the dub of the Brazilian Yu Yu Hakusho, they modify a couple of things to make it more like Nordeste and also Rio de Janeiro oriented.
Hmm.
They are two different places. Uh, uh, they put some language in there that is very specific,
Hmm.
and kind of it's like it's something very difficult. I when I was a kid, I always thought like Yoshihiro Togashi has no idea that Yu Yu Hakusho is like that in Brazil. Like, Yu Yu Hakusho in Brazil is something special. It,
Hmm.
Yoshihiro Togashi will probably never know. Most people don't know, only Brazilians.
Right.
So it's kind of Yu Yu Hakusho in Brazil is kind of magical. It's
Hmm.
like it's different from the other places. And I don't know. I think it's pretty neat.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
also Naoki Urasawa, the G Monster.
Yes.
Uh, he's great, great, great. Also, 20th Century Boys. Inyo Asano, that did Oyasumi Pum Pum,
Hmm.
is another great one. Douglas Adams, that he did the guy. Uh, I only know the Brazilian name.
It's okay.
No, I can't translate it. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yes.
Uh, I have all the the books. I also have a book of just unfinished things from Douglas Adams.
Hmm.
It just unfinished things they're already like great. Just in mail, in letters,
Hmm.
they're like, oh my god, this is a masterpiece, and no one was gonna read it. But now that we can.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think this is some of my favorite authors.
Hmm. Um, to touch back on games very briefly, because talking about Yu Yu Hakusho brought up a good point. Um, never thought I'd say that sentence. There, when people talk about localization, they usually think that's just translation.
Yeah,
Like, oh, okay, well, we'll convert it from, for you, you're just probably doing translation. You're doing from Brazilian to English. Um, Whereas localization, the real point of it is to make sure that there's context provided to the audience. It
yeah,
changes words and situations a bit so that way um, people have a better point of reference for it. Like in Japan, they'll talk about ramen. When it gets localized over here, they'll talk about burgers, things like that, where
hmm
it's changes here and there, but it does make it a lot more personal experience for the people that they're trying to bring that to. And that's something that you know, some places get exactly right, like Yu Yu Hakusho. And other things just don't. They just went for direct translation, no matter how weird it was going to be. Um,
the I know that some countries in Europe, when they're gonna make a dub for something, they actually doesn't take the original audio off. They they just lower down the volume and some guy in a monotone voice just literally translating everything. And when I saw that, it's like, oh my god, this is literally the worst thing that they could have done.
Yeah.
You know, it's like zero localization,
Yeah.
direct translation. It's like a Google translating talking to you while you're watching something. It's like awful, awful, awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad that there's this modification, this adaptation to something more Brazilian, something more American. I think it's good. Some things not so good when they like take the concept of something like, for example, Pokemon like with the onigiri
Yeah.
and the hamburger,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like they are treating Americans like idiots, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't know what onigiri was,
Hmm.
but I learned it. You know, I watched a Japanese anime, and oh, onigiri is this little ball of rice. Okay,
Hmm.
you know, don't need to treat me like that. Oh
Right.
no, it's not. It's a donut. You know.
Right.
What
That
the fuck?
it's the sort of thing where like I wonder if the localization team had a chance to actually watch what they were localizing. Like if they just got it as a script, I would have been
Yeah,
like, well, okay, maybe, but it should have told them like these guys are going to be eating rice balls, and they're like hamburger. It's like, okay, no, don't. It
yeah,
does not work. There's a way to do localization right, and there's many ways to do it wrong. Um, but it is when some when somebody does it right, it really stands out, you know.
yeah. I there's this is completely off topic, but I'm gonna ask anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know the show My Wife and Kids?
Mm, it sounds familiar.
So it's a sitcom, American sitcom.
Yeah.
There is this black family.
Yes.
There is many sitcoms like that. Black
Yeah.
families focus on a black audience,
Hmm.
but for some reason, My Wife and Kids in Brazil is like giants. You know,
Hmm.
like in America it was canceled after 5 seasons, but they still doing reruns of the show over and over and over for like 10 years. You know,
Hmm.
and I think the big why in Brazil is the localization.
Hmm.
They took this American family and they make it this very Brazilian localization, very uh, uh, I can't even explain
Hmm.
very well, but like they're doing such a good job. And while is a very different thing from Yu Hakusho,
Hmm.
localization very similar. You know, it's very feel at home. You know,
Right.
so there's a lot of things like that. You know, a show that you really don't think much about it. Even Brazilian shows, there's some soap operas from Brazil
Hmm.
that Brazilians don't even remember that for some reason is very famous in Mexico, Russia. You know,
Hmm.
there's things like that all the time. There something catches the attention of someone in other worlds that the people that made it don't even realize. I just think this is a very interesting, but also very off topic.
Well, no, I mean it's still it's neat to hear about localization, um, because I mean we're still talking about media, and I think that other media are important to learn from and to borrow from.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, to get a little off topic in another direction, um, I mean, my games, I've started naming them really long, ridiculous titles, and people comment on them, like on Twitter, going, "Oh wow, it's like somebody made an isekai into a game," and I say, "Well, first off, wrong, not isekai, but light novels, because this is a
yeah,
light novel naming convention. It's just the most famous ones happen to be isekai."
yeah. Right now, are isekai.
Yeah. Um, there's I can't even think of the long named ones because they're just so long that I'm like I don't remember what the whole thing is. Um, but there's like Overlord and Konosuba, which I mean Konosuba's actual name is really long too, but that's just how I remember it. Um, but there's several of those anime and manga and light novels that are really strong right now. Um, and they have ridiculous titles most of the time. And the reason is because that stands out. Most people making light novels have not hit it big. And so they're trying to make sure that if you're looking through um, the bookstore aisle and you're looking at stuff, you can see the title and oh, it stands out. And you also get on the edge there the whole pitch of what the thing is.
I was gonna say just like that. The titles of light novels, they're not only titles; they're also the pitch to sell you the book at the same time.
Yeah.
Because sometimes in some cases is the only chance that they got to sell you the book. So,
Mm-hmm.
this is a book about a main protagonist that falls to a digital world and falls in love with something.
Mm-hmm.
The title, the pitch, if you like it, now is the time.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it's a good guerrilla. How am I gonna say this word?
Oh, I get rid of it. Yeah. I know what you mean.
It, it looks like a Brazilian word, but it's not a Brazilian word.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Guerilla.
I think Brazil will be guerrilla. This
Gotcha.
is the Brazilian word. So I'm trying to
And
use the English version
yeah,
of the Latin expression. So
yeah.
it's guerrilla.
We over here people pronounce it gorilla, like the animal almost.
So exactly, I was trying to pronounce like the wrong way that Americans pronounce.
Yeah. And see, I was having that moment where I was like, I don't want to sound like an idiot because I know this isn't how it's pronounced, but this is how it's pronounced here.
Yeah, so it's for you Americans is the right way.
Yes.
Yeah, even when I was talking about Brazil, I was thinking, do I say Brazil like the Americans stuff, or
Right.
just say Brazil how I
Yeah.
talk? So sometimes it's like in Brazil, sometimes like Brazil.
Hmm. It's a matter of how to pronounce stuff. People get hung up on it, and well, even over here, just in the U.S., Americans talking to Americans, people will harp on each other for that sort of thing all the time. Um, when it's like, we know what we're talking about. Like, we say it, move on.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
like
My
like
main
you're
focus.
well, especially it's like you're both white. Like you don't need to. You're not in a position to really talk about this unless one of you is like, no, I have a degree in this. Please, it's pronounced this way.
Yeah,
Um,
my main focus is to pass the message. You understand what I'm saying? That's great.
right.
That's all
Hmm.
you need. It doesn't really need. I don't care if people are talking the wrong way or right way. I don't really think this is actually exists, to be honest.
Hmm.
There is a way that I understand. If there's a way that I don't,
Hmm.
that's it. So yeah, language is kind of elitist, niche,
Yeah.
a little fucked up too. So
Hmm.
fuck
Um, okay, so that was favorite authors.
that.
um, let's continue with this because we don't have too far to go. Favorite developers.
Okay, I'm gonna say the gringo developers first, and then I'm gonna say the
Sure.
Brazilian. So Natalie, Alien Melon,
Yeah. Uh,
she's
Nathalie Lawhead, I think.
exactly. She did everything's going to be okay.
Yes.
Great game. She did a lot of experimental stuff. She's like, she got this philosophy that is like, I'm gonna do that way, my way. That is like, it's perfect for me.
Hmm.
And I really love this way of doing things.
Hmm.
And I'm very inspired by it. So Melos Hantani and Marina Ayano, They are both developers of Anodyne,
Mm-hmm.
Anodyne 1 and 2. Anodyne 2 is like a masterpiece. If you didn't play it, you should. It's great, great, great stuff. So yeah, they are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So and oh, I can see got black. Okay. Uh, and Brazilian developers. I had a couple here. Menos Play. His name is Pedro Paiva, but he goes on Twitter like Menos Play. He's an anarchist developer. He did a lot of red stuff. He did a game recently called Teletugs. There's
Mm-hmm.
like Teletugs, but they are thugs. And they are on the streets and they wanna kill, politicians and liberals. He's great.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, he makes a lot of stuff like that. They had this the SkateRPG and like fuck rich people, fuck capitalism, fuck um, uh, people that's taking stuff from poor people. So yeah, Menace Play is great.
Mm-hmm.
The name of the project is Menace Play because the full name is uh, wait, let me get this right.
Sure.
Okay. Is mais ódio menos PlayStation, which means more hate and less PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
He's great. He's great. He's a friend of mine and I love him. And also, uh, Tiani Pixel. She she's a trans game dev in Brazil. She's doing an amazing game called Unsighted.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably gonna be like a hit game when it comes out. It's like very beautiful and very well made. And I did a little of game testing for this game. It's
Mm-hmm.
pretty good stuff. And her girlfriend, Fernanda, is doing the soundtrack. Is also amazing. So I really recommend. Like everybody can enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Cabby, she's also a trans game dev from Brazil. She did the game Bem Feito. I don't know if it has an English translation yet, but probably will be.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's a game that explores this creepypasta stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the game itself. It's not an indie game. No, it's an old game that they found. For you to play the game, you have to open the emulator for this console that she created and
Mm-hmm.
put the ROM. It's like it's genius, and I really recommend. Probably gonna be in international launch someday soon. So when it happens, I really recommend.
Mm-hmm.
Goose. He's also a friend of mine. He's a musician. He makes videos and also making video games. He did, in my opinion, the best video game about the quarantine and the pandemic called Seculus, the main
Mm-hmm.
century. I think it's a Brazilian only, they made Portuguese only,
Mm-hmm.
but I hope that he makes a version uh, of English or international or something like that, or even other projects because I know they're going to be great. He also does music, he's also awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think these are some of my favorite developers. Um, Play, Natalie, Los Hantani, Marinaya, Bruce, Tiani, Cabby. Uh, Also my friends, obviously, they work with me on a bunch of projects.
Mm-hmm.
And, but yeah, these are the people they like. We have, um, they are very inspired to them. I follow the way of making things. It is this scene is I think it's pretty great and getting bigger. And there are a bunch of people like me that are like following the steps you know
Mm-hmm.
they are great.
Cool. Um, do you have any favorite heroes or heroines in fiction or otherwise?
I can only think of Kiryu on the Yakuza series
Mm-hmm.
and Ichiban on the Yakuza series. Um, I mean I never really got too attached to this hero thing is the do-gooder, the man without faith.
Hmm.
I prefer my protagonists to be like broken people like me. They make mistakes. Like speaking a hero sense, I think Kiryu and Ichiban they are great traditional heroes.
Hmm. Do you have any favorite painters, composers, any favorite bands?
My favorite bands: Strokes, Radiohead, The Garden. I kind of got into The Garden uh, recently.
Hmm.
Mm, my favorite painter, I think, would be Yoshitaka Amano.
Hmm.
I think Yoshitaka Amano did some great pieces. I'm not really a big fan of Final Fantasy,
Hmm.
but everything that Yoshitaka Amano does, I like to see. I like to, to watch it, do stuff. So yeah,
Hmm.
I think he's my favorite painter. And composers, I listen to a lot of music, a lot of music.
Hmm.
So I never can really put like, oh, this is my favorite.
Right.
Always changing. But Strokes, Radiohead, The Garden, I'm always listening to.
Hmm.
Uh, Probably a bunch of punk bands. Yeah,
Hmm.
but I think they are like the bands that I regularly listen.
For my last question, do you have any special or peculiar talents?
Hmm, I can play electric guitar, the traditional guitar, keyboard, but all very badly. I'm not great at nothing. Basically.
Hmm.
Um, I made this shirt.
Oh, wow.
Is this this shirt is from a Junji Ito comic. It's called Hellstar Remina, se não me engano.
Hmm.
Oops, I just spoke in Portuguese for a second. It's Hellstar Remina, if I'm not mistaken. Okay,
Hmm.
next. Um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I do a little bit of everything.
Hmm.
I just learned how to make claymation just because I needed one NPC on
Hmm.
SkateRPG to be made of clay just because I feel like it. Yeah, I know a little bit of everything.
Hmm. Okay, well, that is it for my questions. Do you have anything that you want to add, or?
Mm, I don't know. I think just uh, if this interview made make some crazy people that somehow got into the end of this video, if you somehow are in the end of this video right now, so go play indie games. Just suck AAA games. They are so generic. They go with itch.io, go to Twitter, go follow us, go make games because everybody can make games.
Mhm.
Uh, I think this is a great scene to be in, a great thing to do. There's so much to explore and make experimentation. So yeah, just
Mhm.
go play and go make some games. That's it.
Right. Um, well, do you have any links or anything that you want to shout out right now, like Twitter, game
Um,
pages, anything
yeah,
else?
I mostly my gaming updates and things
Hmm.
is on my Twitter. Is uh, Daniel Dante Dev.
Hmm.
So it's Daniel, the way everybody writes Daniel,
Yeah.
and Dante, just like the Devil May Cry protagonist,
Hmm.
and Dev of developer, Daniel Dante Dev. And I also making Nami, the horror game with my friends. We call our group Espresso Studios.
Hmm.
We also have a Twitter, is EXP. game studios. So yeah, these two handles is where I put most of my updates about games and things like that. Music, everything that I do is probably going to be in my Twitter someday.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's in my links.
Okay. Um, Great. Well, I think that pretty well does it for us then. Um, well, thank you all so much for watching. Um, this has been Daniel Dante and myself, Damien Crawford, at Developer Damien most places. Um, uh, um, I need to scroll up on episode 9 of Indie2Indie. Thank you so much for watching. I'll put links in the description below. Please check out the bundle. Please check out SkateRPG. And I will see you all again eventually, because I think this is the last interview I'm doing for this bundle, but we'll see. All right, thank you all so much. Bye.
Bye.